This is the Griffin Podcast, episode number 81. We continue in our agent plan. And the question on the table today is, are you considering dates seriously when you're an agent? Are you a home seller or a home buyer who has questions about selling or buying residential property? Or maybe you're an agent who needs a plan to get your business moving in the right direction, but none of you can find the right answers. Well, hey, you are definitely in the right place. I'm Danny Griffin, the founder of The Griffin and the host of the Ask-A-Griffin podcast. And to help you take immediate action to get started in the right direction, I've created a bunch of free plans for you that are waiting. They're really step-by-step guides that are waiting at griffincourses.com. That's Griffin courses.com. Get over there. We have a seller plan, a buyer plan, and an agent plan, and that will really help you get organized strategically before you sell a home, buy a home, or think about getting into the real estate agency business, or just want to improve your current business. All right, in this episode, we continue in the agent plan, like I said, and on the table, we're in the closing section. This is the finale, right? And the question is to agents, are you considering dates seriously? So the first point here is, first of all, what am I talking about? I'm talking about the dates that are in a contract. When an agent writes up an offer on behalf of a buyer or is helping them decide whether or not to accept one from a buyer's agent when they represent the seller, the real question is, what are we looking at for time frames? And the first point I wrote down here was, don't offer when you're working for a buyer, don't offer, or when you're working for a seller, don't accept unrealistic dates on your offers. And where does this typically happen? Well, let's talk about buyers. We have been in a very, very hot market for sellers. It's hot for sellers. Sellers can even come close to the price that they want and put it out there, and they'll have multiple bids. So you have all of these buyers and their agents who are getting frustrated. So it's tough to make a living for an agent right now who does primarily the buy side of the business, because they're coming in and it's always competitive. And what do I do? Well, all of a sudden you start to cheat a little bit. You start to drop contingencies. You start to squeeze timeframes down without even really finding out whether that's important to the seller or not. What you're doing is cheating your offer to be as aggressive as you can be to try to win. So oftentimes there's a crazy price on top of it. Oftentimes there are unrealistic timeframes. And a lot of agents, unfortunately, I don't know whether they intentionally or unintentionally lie, but they make up these dates and they're unrealistic. And oftentimes the seller gets excited and you as the agent get excited. Oh my gosh, we can all close this in 2 weeks. Doesn't that sound wonderful? Now, there are deals that close in 2 weeks. In fact, mine was one of them. And I knew it was realistic for me to close my house because I had an army ready to go to move me when I was ready to go if I got the right price. And I did. And we were gone in 2 weeks. And the place was really clean and ready to go. Zero issues. I think even the buyers were surprised. But they had a medical situation they were dealing with. So we made it happen. But that was really difficult to do. And I'm a pro. I'm in the business. And I had a lot of resources to be able to pull it off. So how realistic is it when we're squeezing the accordion of time down on an offer? And remember, even when it's a cash offer, for example, that gives some strength, is the cash really ready to go? I have a deal right now that's cash, and I have warned my closing coordinator, make sure that this cash is liquid. See, a lot of people will have marketable securities in their investment account, and it might take some time for that to clear and be wired into a bank that can then provide the cash, the digital cash, of course. A couple numbers on a screen, right? We're wondering whether in a digital age, we don't see the cash, but we see these transfers taking place quickly. But is it realistic for those financial institutions? And are we dealing with business days versus weekend days? What are we dealing with? So there is a lot that needs to be considered before you either offer or accept unrealistic dates within which you can perform on your side of the transaction. The second point here is that you have to ensure that all parties on your side of the transaction will meet these critical dates and deadlines. So let's go to the buy side first. What are we talking about? Well, we talked about this in the last recent episodes, or the most recent episodes, where we talk about the closing process being this orchestration of all of these new parties that get introduced. I mean, what's amazing about the closing process is that the minute you sign a contract, you are introducing parties such as attorneys, or maybe in lieu of an attorney, a title company. You have home inspectors, and if the home inspector doesn't have expertise in an area that needs further study, you have specialists that have to come in and inspect. So there are so many parties to this transaction that are added during the closing process, and now we have this squeezed tight amount of time within which to perform. Let's just make sure that even before, if I'm making that offer on the buy side, I really do have command over when the home inspectors can get there. If I say home inspection in 5 days, can I really get the 3 people that I recommend, one of them to show up within the 5 days, and not only show up, perform this several hours long event, write up the report in real time, get it to me, let me review it with the buyer, and if there are any points to be gone over with the seller or renegotiated, we just did one of these, right? We did turn it around very quickly because we do have a tight time frame and we do want to perform. So we're on it. And we went back and forth very quickly. We got a quick response. Some of the stuff was taken care of. Some of it is as is, etc. Right? So we made sure that our parties could meet all those critical dates and deadlines. On the sell side, really one of the biggest challenges I've had recently is the mover and the ability more so of my client to move. I've had a couple of high-end clients that had very big houses, a lot of stuff, quote unquote, and needed a place to take it to. And they were a little bit caught off guard that, I don't even know if they thought I would sell the houses. And all of a sudden they went into panic mode when I did. That's the business I'm in. I sell houses, right? I show up, you better be ready to move. But we need to get out in front of that now. In our state where we are, there are many septic systems versus sewage systems. So we have to make sure that the septic inspection has been done, even in advance of listing. And so if there is any kind of an issue that it's being replaced, the septic system's being replaced, or parties are talking about holding escrow and it can be replaced after. Some banks do it, some don't. You see what I mean? We have to ensure that all these parties that are going to be involved can actually play the game that we've mapped out or are about to accept. And the last point here is that during all of this, it's important for you, the agent, to maintain records of all significant communication to ensure compliance. That's really important because remember what's at stake here: money and contractual obligation. Let me say that again. It's not just money, it's contractual obligation. If you have entered into a contract, let's just say on the buy side, you enter in, and the seller just wakes up and said, well, I'm not going to sell it to you. Well, that buyer has the right, according to most contracts in real estate that are standardized, they have the right to sue you to perform, to actually sell it. So you don't want to enter as a sell side into this transaction whimsically. So whomever you are in that moment in time, you have to make sure that the buy side is performing so that the sell side doesn't have a way to get out. So, for example, if the buy side doesn't perform, the sell side just decides to walk, well, then they might have the right to do that. Again, we'll leave that all to the lawyers, right? And they're the ones that are qualified to do that. But you want to be nice and organized to show that you held everybody on your side in compliance. And the minute that you don't, you want proper notification. In fact, on one of my other deals where I'm representing the seller, we had a buyer come in and not have a mortgage contingency. And we're well past any time where they could reclaim their deposits. And all of a sudden they say, oh, we need a 30-day extension. The lawyer does, to our lawyer side, right? Well, we need a 30-day extension because the appraiser has to go out. There were some leaks and they went, whoa, wait, what? This isn't subject to that. You don't just show up and start talking like this as if you have the right to that. And then even after that, well, there were some leaks that weren't disclosed. No. No, that's not the way that this works. So if you want to play the game, you can pay for this time. We'll give you 2 weeks to get yourself square. And after that, you're going to pay his principal, interest, taxes, and insurance, says the attorney. So everything's compliant on my side. Everything. I have a good attorney there. We're all tight. My closing coordinator's tight. Everybody's on it. Now we'll go back to the agents and say, hey, let's go. Get this guy going. This isn't what we agreed to. We had backup offers. Let's go. But I have to be careful too because my client wants the deal. It's a good deal that ends the pain and, moves him along to the next point of his life. But we're very compliant and we're in full communication and we're documenting everything. Everybody CC'd on this thing. Every time something is said, everybody CC'd, and we are super compliantly in control. Let me go back and talk about this, okay? So I'm reiterating to you all. Today we're talking about our agent plan. We're talking to agents that might already be licensed, or those of you that want to become licensed, or Griffin agents who have just joined us. The idea is that you have to consider dates seriously in a contract when you are party to that as the agent. So the first point is don't offer. In other words, don't on behalf of a buyer offer certain dates or accept certain dates on behalf of a seller that are unrealistic. If you know the time frame is unrealistic, don't do it. Don't do it. You're asking for a problem. Be realistic. Don't get caught up in the emotion of the moment. This is big business, and there's a lot at stake. Second point, ensure all parties on your side of the transaction, buy side or sell side, that they will and are able to meet critical dates and deadlines. So in other words, if you sign up for a home inspection by such and such a date, you better make sure you have your cache of home inspectors who can meet that, turn the home inspection around, and leave you time to negotiate items that need to be done so. That's an example. Attorneys, movers on the other side, etc. And lastly, maintain records of all significant communication to ensure that your side is in compliance, so that if there's any question, you've done a very good, diligent job of being a fiduciary, a trusted advisor for your side of the transaction, your client. I'll summarize it this way. When you're writing an offer on behalf of your buyer or accepting an offer on behalf of your seller, be sure to write or accept dates that are realistic and will be met with the need for unnecessary, and will be met, okay, without the need for unnecessary timeline extensions. So you have to be diligent, especially when it comes to keeping good records or all significant communications with all parties to the transaction in order that everybody stays compliant and you protect your client. Okay? Hey, remember, you can take immediate action to get started in the right direction if you need to sell or buy property right now or in the near future. Or maybe you're an agent who wants some help. You can go to griffincourses.com, Griffin, Griffin, courses.com, and you can get any of our free step-by-step guides. We have nice digital versions over there for you. You can instant access them, read through them. We're just trying to leave a better footprint in the real estate agency business. Also, don't forget, of course, you can subscribe to this podcast on iTunes or Spotify or wherever you listen, or find us on any of our social media channels so that you don't miss out on any insights each time we upload an episode. We'd also appreciate it if you would share our content with anybody thinking about selling or buying property or becoming a real estate agent so they get the help that they need to be successful. But remember this, we sign off the same way all the time. Nobody's coming for you. So take action to get working on a plan for buying or selling a property or becoming a successful real estate agent, and we'll see you in the next episode to help you do just that. Thanks again.